Good morning, Silvia. This is day 3 of our adventure. We're currently in Blue Springs, Missouri. Tonight we'll be in Lexington, Nebraska. It's about 40 degrees, and today we start the Oregon Trail. Now, most of the places for today and tomorrow I visited last year, but I missed a few or skipped them for whatever reason. So we're going to do a cleanup today and tomorrow and catch the places that I did not get last year. But beautiful blue sky day. It's going to be a good one. Let's get started. So it begins. This is the courthouse, and it's actually called the Harry Truman Courthouse because Harry Truman spent some time here before he was president. So like I said, I'm in Independence, Missouri, the official start of the Oregon Trail. And I'll be back here in 18 days, about 5,000 miles. And I did a little math in my head, kind of rounding yesterday. The wagon trains traveled on average 15 to 20 miles a day on average. And so in an hour of riding around 80 miles an hour on the freeway, I travel 1 hour the distance it took them 4 days at least to travel. 4 days, I did it in 1 hour. The travel that I'll do in an entire day, say 500 miles, took them about a month of travel. It took them 4 to 6 months to get from Missouri to what was called the Oregon Territory then, I guess. That included parts of Wyoming, Idaho, Washington. It's not the Oregon state that we know today. So the trip I'm going to do in 18 days out all the way to the California coast and back. It would have taken them 2 years to do that same trip. Because when they got there, they were in August, September, maybe even October. And they had to beat the snows in the mountains, so they couldn't turn around and come right back. So they had to wait until the following spring. So I'm going to do it in 18 days. It would have taken them 2 years to do it. That's crazy to think about. So let's get on the road. Hey, Silvia. The GPS told me to take this road, and it even had a green road sign out at the pavement, but I hit a gate, and I'm not going to go through a gate. I think I'm going to have to find another way. Look at the wind. This is crazy. Try a different angle here. I guess this is Alov Springs. A little bit underwhelming considering what I did to get here. Just talked to a fellow and he said it's very dry right now and the spring's not running. I guess the spring will come down through here. So in 46, when the Donner Reed party came through here, one of the people in the train died, a female, and she's buried here somewhere, but no one really knows where. Apparently there's a Mormon cemetery near here that's been lost to time also. They don't know where it is. I'm standing below the springs now in the little overhang. I don't know how much it may have changed in 150 years, but hundreds of thousands of people were here during that era. A lot of people made note of Alov Springs in their diaries, journals. So it was a very popular spot. And with the spring, had clean water, no cholera. So that sign implied that the camping area was over here, not at the spring, because you couldn't get a wagon up there, probably anyway. Hanley Keys. Yeah, she's the woman in the Donner Reed party that died here in 1846. This is not her gravesite. This is just in honor of her. I love stuff like this. Oregon City, Oregon, 1,853 miles, and I will be there in about a week. It's a pretty park. There's no one here. I guess no one wants to drive down a gravel road. There's lots of hiking trails. Okay, here's some notes on graves here. 1846, Sarah Keys, we already talked about her, she was 70. John Fuller lost his life by discharge of a gun, buried here in 1849. Grandma died 29th of May. Seems hard to bury her in the wilderness and travel alone. We were also afraid that the Indians would destroy her grave, but nowhere on the whole road could we have found so beautiful a resting place. In 1864, the Plains Indians attacked several hundred miles of the trail and killed, I think I read, about 100 people. And the raids went on for about 10 days, and then the Army, August 17th, 1864, put an end to the raids. But the Indians knew that the country was preoccupied with the Civil War. And right here on August 7th, the day that the raid started, 1864, about 300 yards southeast of this point, there was a crossing called Indian Hollow. And this freight train was going to Denver. There were 6 wagons, and the Indians attacked them, and 5 of the drivers were killed instantly by arrows. The 6th, with one arrow embedded in his forehead and another in his body, hid in a field of tall sunflowers at the bottom of the hollow. The next day, stage line employees arrived at the scene. They found the wounded teamster who related the details of the attack, and then he died. The 6 men were buried on the ridge beside the trail about 140 yards south of this point. They were the first victims of the great raids of August 7th, 1864, which took 48 lives in Nebraska territory. And there's a monument there at the gravesite, but it's private property. Well, the owner was getting his mail just down the road there and came down, pulled up behind me, and I walked over, and he said I was welcome to walk up the fence here and see the little monument for at the grave. So let's go take a look. Well, here it is. It says 8 men killed by Indians, and the plaque down the road said 6. I'm not sure. It was put here by the Boy Scouts in 1931. My understanding is this is a burial site of either 6 or 8 men killed by the Indians on August 7th, 1864. Exactly 95 years before I was born. Oh, it's a fine day here in Nebraska. Good morning, Silvia. How are you doing today? It's day 4 of our adventure. We're in Lexington, Nebraska. Tonight we'll be in Casper, Wyoming. It's 44 degrees and it's about 2,400 feet in elevation, and that number will keep going up over the coming days. Let's get on the road. California Hill, climbed by thousands of immigrants heading west between 1841 and 1860. The terrain restricted the route wagons could take up the hill, causing deep ruts still visible about 2/3 of a mile northwest of this marker. That's where we're going to go in just a moment. And before 1867, as many as 500,000 immigrants came through here, right up through there. Supposedly there are ruts that we can see and walk in over there. So let's go see if we can find them. Beautiful morning here in Nebraska. Whether you believe it or not, That's supposed to be remnants of ruts from the Oregon Trail. This looks like swales that I've seen in other places where the wagons, hundreds, thousands of wagons following the same path would wear a swell in the landscape. But everything that I've read says that this is authentic right here. The Oregon Trail came right through here. Nice. A few more pounds and I would not fit through here. Just a little, oh, snug. Got hung up on a nail. Oh man. That's another geocache. Well, how about that? Huh. Nice. Silvia, we need to get on the road again. This has been a good stop, California Hill. Last year I tried to come up here and the road was covered in snow, so I had to blow past it. So this is another one that I've snagged this year. If I get back down to the paved road without crashing. Okay, I tried to find this grave last year, John Hallman, and I think the coordinates I have for it is wrong. It had it back up the road about a quarter mile out in the middle of a pasture field. And actually, I just Googled it, and it should be just a little bit up that gravel road right there. And it's on private property, but the owner grants permission for the public to go look at the grave. It's estimated that 20,000 people died on the Oregon Trail between 1842 and 1859. That averages out to about 10 graves per mile on average. And in Nebraska, there are only 7 identifiable graves remaining. They didn't really have anything to mark the graves with other than rocks. They used sometimes wood, I've read animal bones, and sometimes they didn't want the grave to be identifiable because Indians would dig up the graves for the clothing. And of course, animals would dig up the grave also. So he definitely had a concern of that. And probably John died of cholera. He died in June 1852, and cholera was very bad in 1852 on the plains. So let's go see if we can find John. I think I've found John Hallman. Born 1833, died June 5th, 1852. See if I can find a way up there without jumping a fence. Well, believe it or not, I climbed through that gate, but I had to take my hat off. Up here on a small knoll. The old timers always wanted to put a grave on a high spot if they could. They were concerned about water getting into the grave. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I can't tell if there's anything on it. That looks like a concrete headstone. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to try to summarize the plaque that's here at the grave. I'll take a photo and put it on my website, ourretirementantics.com, if you want to read the entire thing. And basically, he died in 24 hours. This is a letter that a woman wrote describing John Hallman. And she says, yesterday morning, he was fine. This morning, at sunrise, he's a corpse. About 11 o'clock yesterday, he was thirsty, and he drank standing water. From that very moment, he began to fail. Later that evening in camp, he stumbled off his horse, had diarrhea very bad, rubbed him during the night with pepper and vinegar. He seemed to know that he was going to die, and he died at sunrise. Apparently he was well liked in the camp. There was not one in our train of 43 in number but loved him dearly and shed tears at his death. Dug the grave very deep so the wolves couldn't dig him up. His original headstone is encased in concrete, and I think I see it now. You can see the edge of the rock and the concrete around it. 19 years old, and one of the people on this wagon train that came through in 1852 was one of the last surviving members of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And John Hallman and it looks like a couple of his brothers, 3 Hallman brothers, traveled as hired hands and worked for the company to earn their passage to California. So they didn't have wagons of their own, but that was common for young men to be hired as help, to help drive wagons or herd the stock or whatever, and they were paid and fed. Here's another grave site. Amanda died June 23rd, 1850 at 28 years old. And this is another bad year for cholera, so more than likely that's what she died from. The grave is marked. There's a headstone, but it's on private property, and I can't find any information where there's public access. I'm pretty sure it's right over in there. I see kind of a little fenced-in area and what looks like a plaque of some sort or a sign. So that's probably it, but I'm not going to trespass. On to the next one. Guess what, folks? I'm at another grave. This one is Rebecca Winters. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll have a photo of this on our website, ourretirementantics.com. Look for the Day 4 blog. So Rebecca was a daughter of a drummer boy in the Revolutionary War, born in 1802. She was in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Mormons were persecuted everywhere they went. So in June 1852, they joined others of their faith and headed across country to go to Utah. And 1852 was a bad year for cholera. She saw a bunch of her friends die of the illness, and on August 15th, 1852, she died of cholera. She was age 50. The Burlington Railroad surveyors found the grave and a marker, which the marker is a metal tire from a wagon wheel. And I'll show you that in a moment. And they moved the right-of-way to protect the grave. And then in 1902, there was a monument erected by Rebecca's descendants. Here's a grave site. There comes a drain. And I don't know if this is the original wagon tire or not, but it certainly has Rebecca Winters engraved in it, and age 50 on the other side. Choo-choo train. And the elevation here is about 3,800 feet. Was a little bit of a ride, and this is why I did it. Some more ruts. There's supposed to be a grave out here somewhere. I didn't see a sign for it, but I had to leave Silvia in the road because I can't jump the ditch. Fort Laramie is just over there, and it had a major role to play in the Mormon, California, and Oregon trails. And according to this plaque here at the ruts, Fort Laramie was 1/3 of the way. You had to travel 650 miles to get here from Independence, and they still had a final 2/3 of the journey left in front of them, and it was the hardest part in front of them. Up until now, it had not been too bad. And you can't see it in the GoPro, but that's Laramie Peak right over there, the first mountain they saw with snow, probably. And right along in front of this railing are ruts. I know it's hard to see in the GoPro. And there's a little bit of a swell there. If the grass wasn't so high, I'm sure that we could see other ruts through here. I'm not going to walk any farther. I'm getting old and fat. Beautiful country though, just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, one more grave site, last one for the day, last stop for the day. I got to get to Casper before dark. I don't know much about this one. Cindy Robbins. An 1849 immigrant. I don't know why it says 1849 to 1934. I have no clue. The reason I wanted to stop here is right over there are a bunch of wagon ruts coming down that hill. Over there are the Guernsey ruts. Now I'm not going to go there because I've been there a number of times. I was there last year, where the wagon trains came up this narrow place where they all had to go over the same rocks, and they left ruts carved in the rock 6 and 8 feet deep. So they came right around the ridge, and those are ruts where they came down that bank and then continued. That's pretty neat. Hello, Cindy. I don't know what's up with you. I thought that she died in 1849. Maybe she was brought back here to be buried after she died. I don't know. Maybe we'll just leave it as a mystery. Now let's get to Casper. Not sure I'm supposed to be up here, but it'll be okay.